Vulnerable groups such as women, youth, and ethnic minorities are particularly targeted by disinformation, often through narratives that exploit marginalization and identity politics. This week on InfoCheck, we speak with a renowned journalist who, among other key roles, is a former news coordinator of the UN radio in Mali to break down the data. Madame Mame Diarra Diop, it is a pleasure to have you on InfoCheck.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Now, PenPlusBytes findings show that vulnerable groups are now more targeted than ever by disinformation. In your experience, which groups are the most targeted? How do you explain this targeting?
Thank you, Francis. To talk about disinformation, and particularly in Mali, where I was working all these years, I think that youth are a very vulnerable community to target when we speak about disinformation. In Mali, we have they represent with women more than 50% of the population, and we have a very low level of educations, poor access to literacy, to media literacy. So this group is very much keen to be manipulated by information. Disinformation, misinformation, and when we also see that today they have access to digital world, smartphones, information, so it's easy to see all kind of message without any preparation on how to take an information. As a journalist, I've always learned that everything that I see you have to doubt. This is not a natural reaction of everyone. Doubting on things, and most of the time young people, I don't have to say that they receive information and they just ingest it and take it the way it is given to them.
Do you think education plays a part here?
I think education is a big part of it. When you see this population that is not educated in Mali, we have, I think, 70% of people not being educated. It's clearly one of the reasons, not all the reason, but one of the reasons why they are, subject to disinformation, I think.
So practically speaking, how do you think disinformation actors use those vulnerable groups, youth, exploit ethnicity, exploit women groups to spread disinformation? What have you seen in the region?
Oh, what we've seen in the region is that it's a very complex region. Let's say that we talk about the Sahel. We talk about countries that are facing a lot of challenge, development challenge, economic challenge, education challenge. We spoke about it, and we are also witnessing socio-political evolution and crisis. So we face a very critical situation right now in the Sahel. Where you have many, also security issues, terrorist group operating, young people facing, economic challenge, migrations, a lot, we are facing a lot. And so these big mass of people are clearly a target for some groups or some politics leaders to manipulate and try to have controls over things. And it's when we see all these military regime we've been witnessing since 2020, what you see is that youth have been the primary, community who supported these military regimes and rejected the idea of democracy. When it started in Mali and then Niger and then Burkina Faso, the young people went in the streets to say, okay, we want to support the military now. We don't want democracy anymore. And it's very impressive to see that because it's really a sensitive part of the society. And added to that, we also have women groups,
So let's put you on the spot. Yeah. Let's put you in a position of authority. You are no longer a journalist. You are no longer a producer.
Yeah.
You are no longer in the media space. What solutions do you see?
The solutions are multiple. What we see today is it's more linked to a development issues, a security issue first, because you find these groups and these young people living in area where you don't have the presence of the state. You don't have, I don't know, schools. You won't have a health structure. So these people are kind of, living by themselves. There's no rule in those areas. So the solution would be to give them some, I think, hope first, a sense of hope, a sense of, belonging to a country. And what we see in Mali is some areas people feel abandoned by the state. People don't feel that they're considered. So they will tend, especially young people, they will tend to go in extremist groups. When a group comes and give you money to do, so much money to join a group or thing, you will do it because you need to get out of poverty. So the solution would be to tackle these things, these young people and this vulnerable group trying to make a living, just trying to make a living, and give them a sense of hope, I think.
But in your opinion, do you think this can go simultaneously with the conflict resolution process? We are not even yet in a conflict resolution stage. We are still in full-blown conflict in certain parts of Mali, right? Then we also have attacks in certain parts, not full-blown.
Yeah.
But do you think it can go hand in hand, or the security situation in countries like Mali needs to be resolved first before we start talking about this?
I think both. It should be both at the same time. And we try to do it. When I was working on the mission, there were a lot of initiative of, dialogues and negotiation, and to try to gather communities and try to solve these differences we saw on the field, and at the same time fighting the security thing, the security threats, the terrorist group, because these groups are moving so fast. They're changing so fast. Today we see that there's so much infiltrated in the society, and you will see local leaders today being terrorists, joining these big groups like Al-Qaeda or Jnim. It's no longer, the white guys, the Arabic guys. It's the Malian, the local.
So local recruitment.
Local recruitment, people you would never imagine are now in this group. And recently we saw a video of that guy in Mali who is one of the local leaders trying to impose that blockade over Bamako, who spoke. He speaks Bambara.
Bambara, yeah.
He speaks in Bambara, so many people identify to him. And so it is changing so fast that you wonder what are the reasons that bring peoples to support this kind of people, because they have a language, they touch people with a certain way of speaking, they touch their daily challenge and fights. These people don't trust anymore the militaries, because we've seen what is happening, a lot of killings. So you need to be very aware of that. And when you see the way they use the internet, the social media, the digital to vehiculate this message, when you see the comments that supports them, you wonder what sort of influence they have over society, including in the capital. It's no longer in the region because it was in the region. Those vulnerable communities were on the regions, and I can speak of the example of this city called, I think it's Farabana. It was in the center of Mali, who was, surrounded by groups. What do? They are surrounded by terrorist groups. They need to negotiate to continue to live. The state is not there, so what do? They find agreements to be able to live with these people. So they join them, including women, because their men have left. So it's only women in this village facing these people, and no security, no state. So what do? And now these people are infiltrating the capital, the people, and they look like you and me. It's familiar faces. So
it looks like over time the role of women in the conflict in Mali has been evolving, because we are seeing women becoming a huge part of either fighting or even being recruited, fighting against insurgency, or even being recruited to be on the other side.
Yes.
What do you make of this?
Before they were seen as victims, before their role has changed, as you said. At the beginning, they were victims. They were suffering all this situation, and then their role has changed. They have become part of the solution, either to make peace or to go on the other sides, or to be also leaders, kind of, protecting themselves and their communities and their kids by trying to negotiate with these people. So obviously, yes, their role has changed. We've seen that in Mali when we signed the peace agreement in 2015. We've seen local civil society women joining, the big groups, the political groups, trying to be part of the peace process, raising the voice of other women to be considered. If you don't do that, you will be excluded from everything and your voice won't be heard. So yes, their role are really changing right now. And you would be surprised if you go to these remote areas that you have very strong figures, leading a whole village or a whole community just to survive.
What channels do you see that are really being used here? Is it the digital channels? Is it radio? Are they using influencers? We recently had the issue of the Malian influencer that was killed.
Yeah.
What's your take on all this?
I think they use so many channels, the social media. I see TikTok being very, very used by these people. Radio, of course, but radio is more. It's more delicate because it talks to everybody. But when you see, I think the social media is a channel that is used very much to spread message and at the same time disinformation, or to try to spread a sort of propaganda on what is happening, because young people, they all have access to internet, to the digital world. Radio was important before in those areas because a lot of people listened to it. But since the security issue came, even radio workers are very careful on what they say because they're fearing to be kidnapped or killed for saying some...
So there's some sort of self-censorship.
Yeah, self-censorship that is actually happening, because we've seen a lot of journalists being, who disappeared. We have many journalists disappear. Some of them were arrested. So they're being very cautious in how they report.
Now, finally, are there any initiatives that you see that have shown some kind of promise in restoring civic trust?
Yes, there are many initiatives. Some people are still trying to tell good stories, to give a great narrative, but it's small efforts when you see the scale, of disinformation, when you see all these people coming on social media and, speaking for themselves, influencers, video men in Mali.
Madam Mame Diarra Diop, thank you for coming on InfoCheck.
Thank you, Francis, for having me.
That was InfoCheck. Many thanks to Mame Diarra Diop for her insights. Join us next time as we continue to track and decode the narratives shaping our information space. Stay critical.